Hi everybody, my name is Jens Larsen. The idea for this video came from a discussion that I had with somebody over on Instagram, and he was very upset with me for saying that there were chords that were not diatonic to the major scale that were still a part of the major key. But it is a fact that we actually very often have chord progressions that will contain a few chords that are not found in the scale, but those progressions are not modulating. So in this video, I'm going to go over some of those progressions and just give you some examples of very common progressions that don't modulate. I'm also going to go over an example where we do have a modulation, and I'm going to discuss some of the different chords that you can come across that are very common within a key, but not in the scale. To me, the point of music theory is to describe and help me understand the music that I play. So I need music theory that also contains a way of describing all these chords that are not in the scale, but still in the key. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar and improve the way that you solo, check out some interesting arpeggios or chord voicings, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to make sure not to miss anything, then click the little bell notification icon next to the subscribe button. Before I get into all the interesting chords that are not found in the scale, I think it's useful just to have a really solid understanding of what the diatonic chords actually are. So for the key of C major, that would be these chords. C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G7, A minor 7, B half diminished, C major 7. And you can make a lot of very beautiful progressions just using the diatonic chords, of course. But at the same time, it's also very common to have chord progressions that will contain chords that are not found within the scale, but at the same time they're not modulating. So if we just take a short look at what might a modulation be and what is some examples of progressions with chords that are not in the scale but that are also clearly not modulating. Here's an extremely common progression in the key of C major. And another one could sound like this. These progressions don't modulate, they stay in the key of C, even though the first one contains an A7, the second one contains a C7 and a B flat 7, and none of these chords are found in the C major scale. But of course it's also possible to have songs that actually do modulate, and really what you need there is that you go to another key and you have the impression that now we're in another key and you stay there for a bit. So an example of that could be the song Gone with the Wind. As you can hear, Gone with the Wind starts with a turnaround in the key of E flat major, and then it moves to the median key, so it moves up to G major and stays there for a bit. So here you really have a modulation. You really have a part of the song in one key and then another part of the song that's definitely in another key. So what chords can you expect to come across? I think there are two large groups that are extremely common that you're definitely going to come across. And the first one is going to be the secondary dominants and cadences. So I already have two examples of the secondary dominants in the first two examples that I went over, because the A7 going to D minor 7, so that A7 is just there to really just pull us towards the D minor 7, and A7 is not in the key of C major. In the second example I had a C7, which of course is also not diatonic to C major, but it went first C major and then to C7, and that's just there to take us to the F major 7. The other big group of chords that you're going to come across really often are the chords that are borrowed from the minor key. So in the case of C major, you can borrow chords that are found in the C minor scales. And that means that you can actually come across all the different diatonic chords that you have in the different C minor scales. Most of the time when you come across chords that are borrowed from the minor key, then they are subdominant or sometimes dominant. And just to give you a few examples of jazz standards where you come across this, here are two examples. And here we have my favorite chord in the key of C major, which is A flat major 7. So it's the flat 6 borrowed from C minor. And I find that that's a really beautiful, sort of peaceful minor subdominant chord that you can do really a lot with. And of course it's found in Cole Porter's Night and Day, but you can also do other things with it. It's just a nice chord to go back and forth between the C and the A flat like this. Of course, there are a lot more chords that you'll come across that are in the key of C major, but not in the scale of C major. And if you want to explore that a little bit further and dig into that topic, then here's a video where I go over 30 chords that are all in the key of C, but not necessarily in the scale. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar and this is the first time you see one of my videos, then subscribe to my channel. These are the kind of videos that I publish here every week. And if you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. That's about it for this week. Thank you for watching, and until next week.